Chapter 81 New Identity. Yinglong. What? Feeling their true energy rapidly draining away, Mei Shi and Abai's expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly tried to withdraw their true energy, but by then, it was too late. Their hands seemed glued to Liu Feng's body, and no matter what they did, they couldn't break free. They could only watch helplessly as their true energy was frantically sucked away. At this moment, Liu Feng was also in a bad state. The magic power in his body was nearing saturation. This vast true essence poured in like a river bursting its banks, instantly filling his meridians and expanding at an astonishing rate. Not good. Liu Feng was utterly horrified. At this rate, it wouldn't be long before his meridians were ruptured by this true energy, causing him to explode and die. He quickly discovered the source of this devouring power, the void ring he wore on his finger. Those familiar white rays continuously seeped into his palm, frantically absorbing the true energy from the two women's bodies. Could it be? Upon seeing these streaks of white light, Liu Feng's pupils suddenly contracted. Wasn't this the strange light that had saved his life underground? It turned out that the treasure was the culprit. Liu Feng gritted his teeth and barely managed to mobilize a wisp of magic power, channeling it to his wrist to sever the strands of white light. Bang! As soon as the white light broke, Mei Shi and Abi were immediately sent flying backward as if struck by a heavy blow, their faces turning pale and their true essence greatly depleted. Meanwhile, the swollen meridians within Liu Feng's body gradually calmed down. Under his guidance, the chaotic true essence was gradually refined. Are you all right? Seeing the two women's unstable breathing, Liu Feng was secretly alarmed. He suspected that only the item sealed within the ring could possess such power, injuring Mei Shi and the other two sword master-level experts to such an extent, leaving them utterly powerless to resist. Just what could that treasure be? After thinking for a moment, Liu Feng shook his head. Even his sword emperor master, Ouyang Gyush, said this treasure was incredibly powerful, so it was clear that this level of treasure was beyond his comprehension. However, this treasure also gave him a major headache. This experience had taught him that while it could save his life, it could also very well take it. Mei Shi swallowed an elixir to restore her true energy, a hint of apprehension flashing in her beautiful eyes. What exactly was that just now? How could it generate such a powerful devouring force? This power doesn't seem to belong to you. You guessed right, Liu Feng shrugged helplessly. I can't say exactly what it is, but its power is probably enough to destroy a sword sect-level expert. Even if Xian Yi himself came, he would probably be instantly killed. What? Not only Mei Shi, but even Abi was speechless, her mouth agape in astonishment. However, this shock quickly turned into fervent admiration, and both women gazed at Liu Feng with eager eyes. Liu Feng gave a wry smile. Unfortunately, this thing is beyond my control. Upon hearing this, Mei Shi and the other woman were immediately disappointed, but they quickly understood. If Liu Feng could truly wield this treasure, with its power, probably no one in the entire snow continent would be his match. You two should take good care of yourselves. We'll set off again once you've recovered sufficiently. Looking at the two women, who were severely weakened, Liu Feng felt a little apologetic. Who could have predicted that things would turn out this way? On the outskirts of the desolate region, the vast territory of the Wilderness Clan is divided into 8 parts, each controlled by one of the 8 major tribes, which are scattered like stars over the safety of the desolate region. The Dragon Hammer tribe's territory is located in the far west of the Great Wilderness Forest, which is also the far west of the entire continent. It is backed by the continent's highest mountain range, the Giant God Mountain Range, and beyond that lies the Endless Sea. To reach the Dragon Hammer tribe from Green Dragon Pool, they needed to pass through the territory of the Northern Chiyun tribe. However, the 3 of them skillfully concealed their auras, overcoming numerous obstacles without hindrance, and finally arrived at the Dragon Hammer tribe's territory. With the abilities of Mei Shi and Abai, 2 Grandmaster-level experts, they directly led Liu Feng to the heart of the tribe's territory. The tallest building in the entire Dragon Hammer tribe is this wooden tower with a dragon carved on the roof. After the 3 of them arrived here, they floated in the air. Who? As soon as the 3 appeared, they seemed to be spotted by the powerful members of the Dragon Hammer tribe. Several figures appeared in front of them in a flash and surrounded them. The leader was an elderly man in brocade robes, with a dignified face and a cold expression. However, when he saw Mei Shi and Abai, the coldness on his face suddenly disappeared, replaced by surprise. Second sister. Third sister. Next, to Liu Feng's utter astonishment, the three of them actually embraced tightly, causing his lips to twitch involuntarily. What? Second sister and third sister? This old man and they are siblings? What a joke! But the close relationship between the three of them before him forced him to believe it. Golden dragon, enchanting dragon, green dragon. Liu Feng muttered to himself, then his eyes lit up. Hearing this, it did seem like they were siblings. Wait, then this old man, is he not human either? Liu Feng finally understood why these two women were so certain that the Golden Dragon Clan chief would help them. If these women were siblings, then there really was no reason needed. Soon, led by the Golden Dragon Clan chief, the group filed in and entered the high-rise building. You've come here today, could it be that? The Golden Dragon Clan chief glanced at Liu Feng, then a glint flashed in his eyes as he asked. Mei Shi and Abi exchanged a smile. That's right, a swordsman with great talent has finally appeared. The 3 tests set by the master have been broken, and the Desolate King's token and the Desolate God technique have been inherited. After saying that, Mei Shi smiled and pointed at Liu Feng, and the successor who will shoulder this important task is this young friend Liu Feng. Oh! A strange light flashed in the eyes of the Golden Dragon Clan chief. The young man in front of him looked to be only at the early stage of swordmaster, yet he had such ability to break through the 3 tests of the peerless expert Chu Tianhen. Now it's up to you, brother, Mei Shi said with a faint smile. The Golden Dragon Clan chief's eyes narrowed, and after a moment of contemplation, he waved to a burly man sitting on his right. The burly man strode forward with imposing presence, approaching the Golden Dragon Clan chief and kneeling on one knee. What are your orders, Clan chief? Prime Minister, is it true that your younger brother Yinglong disappeared in the Giant God Mountains 10 years ago? That is indeed true. Very well, from this moment on, young friend Liu Feng is your younger brother Yinglong. The news of your brother's return must be known to everyone in the clan. Can you do that? Upon hearing this, the burly man's body trembled violently. He then glanced at Liu Feng in shock, gritted his teeth, and nodded. Your subordinate will certainly comply. Liu Feng's expression was also somewhat surprised and suspicious. Judging from what the other party meant, it seemed that they wanted to give him the identity of a member of the Dragon Hammer clan. Liu Feng, from now on you will stay in my Dragon Hammer tribe for the time being as Yinglong. When the opportunity arises to get close to Princess Lingyun, I will naturally find a way to arrange for you to meet her, the Golden Dragon Clan chief said calmly. No problem. Liu Feng nodded. In the desolate region, Princess Lingyun was probably surrounded by spies planted by Xian Yi. If he appeared, he would likely be discovered immediately. If he relied on the power of the Dragon Hammer tribe and approached Princess Lingyun under the identity of Yinglong, it might be easier. Once young friend Liu Feng has settled in, you two should go back. If you stay here, it will cause a lot of inconvenience and may attract Xian Ye's attention. Mei and she exchanged a glance and nodded. Then we'll leave the rest to you, brother. Indeed, there are probably quite a few spies of the desolate King Xian Yi in the Dragon Hammer tribe, and their staying here could very well cause trouble. Chapter 82 Dragon Hammer Warrior. After only 2 days, Mei Shi and Abi left the Dragon Hammer tribe. While avoiding Xian Ye's attention, they also needed to venture out to seek opportunities and improve their strength in order to cope with the major changes that might occur soon. Liu Feng, assuming the identity of Yinglong, the younger brother of the future Prime Minister, temporarily remained in the Dragon Hammer tribe. The news of Yinglong's return spread like wildfire throughout the entire tribe. Ho Xiang, the chief warrior of the Dragon Hammer tribe, had already reached the level of a swordmaster and was highly respected within the tribe. His younger brother, Yinglong, also displayed exceptional martial arts talent from a young age. However, tragically, 10 years ago, during a training expedition, Yinglong suddenly and silently disappeared into the Giant God Mountains, never to be heard from again. Although the Dragon Hammer tribe expended considerable effort searching the Giant God Mountains, they ultimately found nothing. When people heard that Yinglong had returned to the tribe, their first reaction was disbelief. How could someone who had been out of contact for 10 years suddenly come back? In response, the Golden Dragon Clan chief had already devised a plan. He told everyone that Yinglong had not disappeared 10 years ago, but had been taken away by a peerless master and taken as his disciple. Now that the peerless master had passed away, Yinglong had completed his studies and returned from afar. The story seemed somewhat bizarre at first glance, but since it was told by the clan chief, the people, though somewhat skeptical, had no choice but to believe it. Besides, even the clan leader had already acknowledged this younger brother, so what reason did they have to question it? Liu Feng followed Ho Xiang as they walked through the Dragon Hammer tribe. Everywhere they looked, there were walls made of giant logs, forming fences. Inside the fences were simple wooden houses, very primitive and rough. The tribe wasn't entirely united. Rather, it was scattered across numerous villages, like stars scattered throughout the surrounding area. Since the Dragon Hammer tribe had nearly 1 million inhabitants and covered a vast area, it was divided into 4 regions, each managed by a highly respected elder: the Wind Protecting Division, the Rain Master Division, the Dragon Slaying Division, and the 9 Division. The villages belonging to each tribe fell under the jurisdiction of the Wind Protecting Division. Each village is small, with only a few hundred people living there. Faintly, bursts of lively laughter can be heard. Through the gaps in the rows of giant wooden walls, you can see a huge bonfire in the center of the village, surrounded by many tribesmen, and some women from the tribe are dancing around the bonfire. The village gate, also made of massive timbers, was usually held up by ropes when open, but it was now tightly shut. Several extremely burly men, dressed in animal skins with rough skin, wore gleaming white bone necklaces and bone rings in their ears, exuding a fierce and ruthless aura. When they saw the 2 men approaching from afar, a look of awe appeared in their eyes. Grown-ups. Ho Xiang nodded in acknowledgement and led Liu Feng into the village. This young man must be Yinglong, the younger brother of the Prime Minister. Why is he so thin and weak? After the 2 had walked a distance away, the burly men guarding the gate began to whisper among themselves. Who knows? I've heard that people from the outside world are all this size, far less strong than us Wilderness Clan people. The tribe's Nam Yuta tournament will begin in a month. All the tribe's young masters will participate. With his frail appearance, he probably won't achieve any good results. We mustn't tarnish Lord Hoxiang's reputation. The Muta Conference. Although the 2 men behind him spoke very softly, they still managed to reach Liu Feng's ears. Judging from the meaning behind their words, it seemed that he had no choice but to attend the conference and could not refuse. Before long, the 2 arrived at the center of the village and saw a large number of Dragon Hammer tribesmen gathered around a campfire, laughing and chatting. Outside the campfire, there was a circle of durable wooden railings with many large chunks of meat roasting and oozing oil, emitting a fragrant aroma. The young girls of the Wilderness tribe all showed curiosity when they saw Liu Feng standing next to Ho Xiang. For this tribe, the handsome Liu Feng was physically different from the Wilderness tribe members. Almost every member of the tribe was much more robust than him. Everyone, this is my younger brother, Yinglong, Ho Xiang said, pointing to Liu Feng and introducing him to the crowd. What? He's Yinglong. Everyone was taken aback. Although they had heard the news of Yinglong's return, they were still quite surprised when they saw him in person. At the very front of the crowd sat an elderly man, the only one dressed not in animal skin, but in black silk. His hair was white, and he appeared extremely old, but his eyes possessed a remarkable spirit, as if one could be drawn into them at a glance. He must have been of very high status, for he was speaking in a low voice, surrounded by several young men who listened and nodded respectfully. Upon seeing Liu Feng and his companion approach, the old man smiled, nodded, and gestured for them to sit down. This is Elder Tian Feng, and also the head of our Wind Protection Department. Ho Xiang showed great respect and deference to the old man. Liu Feng understood and bowed. Greetings, Elder. The white-haired old man's gaze lingered on Liu Feng for a moment before he said with a smile, Yinglong, it seems you haven't wasted these past 10 years. Your strength is quite good. I look forward to your performance at the Nam Yuta conference a month from now. Reaching the level of a swordsman at 17 was already considered top-tier genius in their Dragon Hammer tribe. Therefore, Elder Feng Feng believed that Yinglong's current level was quite respectable given his talent. However, he was unaware that Liu Feng had transformed from an incapable talent into a powerful swordsman in less than 6 months, an undoubtedly terrifyingly rapid advancement. Upon hearing this, the young men next to the old man were also moved and carefully examined Liu Feng. They were surprised to find that the seemingly frail boy in their eyes had already reached their level of cultivation. "Elder, if I may ask, what exactly is this muta conference?" Liu Feng frowned. This was the second time he had heard the term. "Oh, you didn't know?" Elder Tianfeng raised an eyebrow, his expression slightly surprised. Liu Feng's heart tightened, and a thought suddenly came to him. He smiled and said, "I've forgotten most of what happened when I was a child. Please forgive me, Elder." "That's true. You were too young when you left, so it's not your fault. Let me tell you about it," Elder Tianfeng said without paying any attention. "The Nam-Yuta tournament is held annually by our Dragon Hammer tribe. All the young talents in the tribe participate, and the winner is determined through a free-for-all and martial arts competition, and is awarded the title of Dragon Hammer Warrior." As soon as the words Dragon Hammer Warrior were uttered, the expressions of the surrounding youths brightened, and a burning light quickly appeared in their eyes, their fighting spirit surging. Liu Feng shook his head. The title might be attractive to these people, but it held no real value for him. Something that couldn't bring him any practical benefit was irrelevant. Seeing Liu Feng's indifferent expression, Elder Tianfeng's eyes flashed with a strange light, and he raised his voice, saying, "The Dragon Hammer Warrior isn't just a title. Obtaining this title gives you the opportunity to enter the desolate domain royal city and continue challenging for the title of the Great Wilderness's #1 warrior." As soon as he finished speaking, several young men from the Wind Defense Division stood up abruptly, their fists clenched, clearly yearning for the title of the Great Wilderness's #1 warrior. However, Liu Feng merely smiled faintly. Enter the desolate royal city? He didn't care about anything else, but wasn't this the opportunity he had been waiting for all along? Chapter 83 Struggle. However, the title of Dragon Hammer Warrior has been taken by Ji Lai of the Dragon Clan for 3 consecutive years. Our Feng Feng clan has not won this honor for more than 10 years since Ho Xiang stopped participating in the tournament. Elder Tianfeng sighed, his face full of regret. Upon hearing this, the young men from the Wind Defense Department all lowered their heads, looking ashamed. "Well, Yinglong, are you interested in this title of the Great Wilderness's #1 warrior?" Elder Tianfeng suddenly raised his head and asked with a furrowed brow. Upon hearing this, the other youths looked at Elder Tianfeng with surprise, wondering why the elder valued this kid so much. That kid was at most a first-level swordsman, and even if he wanted to become the #1 warrior in the Great Wilderness, he probably didn't have the qualifications. "I'll consider it." Liu Feng nodded calmly. Snort. Liu Feng's lukewarm attitude quickly aroused the dissatisfaction of several young men from the Wind Defense Department. "Boy, do you think the title of the Great Wilderness's #1 warrior is so easy to win? Among the 8 tribes, there are countless young powerhouses. You, a mere first-tier swordsman, are probably far from enough," a cold-faced, hook-nosed youth mocked. "That's right, Ji Lai of the Dragon Clan is already a 3rd-tier swordsman, almost unmatched in the tribe. I bet he'll be the Dragon Hammer Warrior this year." "You can't even get the title of Dragon Hammer Warrior. What are you talking about as the #1 warrior of the Great Wilderness?" "It's laughable," another young man sneered. "You overestimate him. With his frail appearance, he thinks he can win first place? He should beat me first." "What are you saying?" "Shut up." Elder Tianfeng frowned and shouted sternly at the group of people who were mocking him. "I'm not sure if I can beat Ji Lai," Liu Feng said noncommittally, a faint smile playing on his lips. "But dealing with the 3 of you, I only need one hand." "Arrogant." These words immediately ignited the anger of several young experts from the Wind Defense Division. The one with the strongest aura stepped forward. This man was a full 1.9 meters tall, with a broad back and thick neck. His arms were thicker than an average person's thighs, clearly indicating an extremely powerful physique. A scorching aura rose from his body, making him appear like a man of fire, pressing down on Liu Feng step by step, seizing the initiative. "You're spouting nonsense. Let me, Zhang Yan, test your mettle. Yinglong, do you dare to accept the challenge?" The tall young man stared intently at Liu Feng. As the top young expert in the Feng Feng division, when had he ever been provoked like this? Moreover, the person who provoked him was even younger than him, which he could not tolerate. The other young experts couldn't help but sneer when they saw Zhang Yan step forward. In their eyes, Liu Feng was just bluffing and would probably be knocked down with a single punch. They were eager to see Liu Feng make a fool of himself. Hee, that brat Inglong has angered Zhang Yan as soon as he got back. He's probably not going to get away with this. That's right. Zhang Yan is at the peak of the second level of Swordmaster, just one step away from reaching the third level. In addition, he has the strength of 10,000 Jin. Many young powerhouses in the tribe are no match for him. It is only because Ji Lai has emerged in recent years that he is subordinate to him and cannot become a Dragon Hammer warrior. I don't think a fight will break out. Inglong is young and impetuous, and Elder Tianfeng is watching from the sidelines. How could he just stand by and watch things happen? Now that you mention it, that makes sense. I was hoping to see a good show, but alas, what a pity. As the surrounding Feng tribesmen began to discuss amongst themselves, Zhang Yan's aura grew even stronger. He raised his head slightly and looked down at Liu Feng with disdain. Liu Feng's expression remained unchanged, showing no sign of backing down. His aura continued to rise, and just as he was about to make a move, a heavy, cold snort suddenly came from the side. Stop! Zhang Yan, do you even respect me as an elder? Elder Tianfeng's face flushed with anger as he reprimanded the tall young man. Then, he glanced at Liu Feng with some surprise, secretly astonished. He hadn't expected this seemingly thin Inglong to be so arrogant, showing no regard for the other experts of the Feng division. Even at this tense juncture, the young man remained calm and composed. There are only two possibilities for daring to display such an attitude. Either he has something to rely on, or he's completely brainless. For some reason, Elder Tianfeng always felt that Liu Feng was not simple. The other's aura gave him an unfathomable feeling. This feeling didn't come from cultivation level, but from his very soul. Humph, I'll let you off the hook today for the sake of the elders. But after the Muta conference, I'll make you kneel on the ground and lick my boots. A cold glint flashed in Zhang Yan's eyes as he glared fiercely at Liu Feng, then withdrew his aura and stepped back to the side. Inglong, Zhang Yan, you two are both outstanding young talents of my Feng department. At the Muta conference, you must cooperate closely and avoid fighting amongst yourselves, lest you benefit others, Elder Tianfeng frowned. These young people nowadays are all arrogant and difficult to manage. However, while they may compete privately, on the day of the Muta conference, they must put aside their personal grudges and unite. After all, the conference is a free-for-all to determine the winner, with only one person ultimately emerging victorious. Therefore, members of each department usually form battle groups, only going all out when only a few remain. Liu Feng nodded. He would naturally attend the Muta conference. As for what these people around him wanted to do, he couldn't control that. But if they dared to make any underhanded moves behind his back, they wouldn't be so polite. Elder, Inglong and I have some matters to discuss, so we'll take our leave now. At this moment, Ho Xiang bowed slightly to Elder Tianfeng, then left with Liu Feng, disappearing from everyone's sight. Watching the two figures disappear into the distance, Elder Tianfeng couldn't help but shake his head. These two brothers really did have some similar temperaments. Although Ho Xiang was highly skilled and deeply valued by the Golden Dragon clan chief, his home was similar to that of an ordinary person, resembling a small shed made of a few logs, and was very simple. Pushing open the wooden door, Liu Feng found that the wooden house was completely empty, with only a bare wooden bed, a table and chairs, and nothing else. Those who have cultivated to the level of a swordsman are basically immune to the cold and heat, as if it were spring in winter and summer. As for super-strong individuals like Ho Xiang, they don't need any bedding at all, as their bodies are protected by powerful true energy, making it impossible for cold or heat to get close to them. From today onwards, you will live here. Ho Xiang glanced at Liu Feng. Although I don't know who you were before, since it is the clan leader's order, I will naturally obey. For the time being, you will live as Inglong. Liu Feng nodded. Although the place was a bit simple, he wasn't someone who cared about luxury. As long as he could find a place to stay, it would be fine. After giving some instructions, Ho Xiang took out two manuals and placed them in front of Liu Feng. These two martial arts are the Python Dragon Fist and the Blood Demon Reincarnation Technique. They are both top-tier martial arts in the clan. You should learn these two martial arts as soon as possible. Even if you can only master the basics, it will be enough. Liu Feng's eyes lit up, and he reached out to take the two manuals. The Golden Dragon Clan chief's intention was clear: to ensure Liu Feng learned a great wilderness martial art, so that when they entered the wilderness, he wouldn't be easily exposed in a fight. After all, Liu Feng currently only possessed sword techniques from the outside world, making him easily predictable by powerful individuals and potentially causing trouble. It's getting late. You should get some rest. I'll let you know if anything comes up. After saying that, Ho Xiang was about to turn and leave when he seemed to remember something. He looked at Liu Feng meaningfully and said, "During this time, you should improve your strength as quickly as possible. You must win first place in the Muta tournament a month from now and earn the title of Dragon Hammer Warrior. Otherwise, you may have to wait until next year to have a chance to enter the desolate domain." Just as I thought. When Elder Tianfeng mentioned this conference before, he already had some doubts. He didn't expect that the opportunity to enter the desolate domain was indeed at this conference, and that it was the only chance. If he missed this one, he would have to wait until the Muta conference next year. Liu Feng couldn't wait a year. He had to rush back to the Northern Snow Empire to fulfill his one-year promise to Yi Tianhao. Time is running out. He must rise to prominence as soon as possible. Chapter 84: Blood Demon Reincarnation Technique. Python Dragon Fist, a low-level Earth-rank fist technique. It is divided into 2 levels. The first level is True Qi transformation into a python. The sound of the fist is like a python, the weight of the fist is like a mountain, and it is extremely domineering. The second level is True Qi transformation into a dragon, which can injure the enemy from 100 meters away, and its power is enormous. This set of fist techniques is considered a closely guarded secret within the Dragon Hammer tribe, making it extremely precious. After all, martial arts at the Earth rank are mostly created by sword sect experts and are generally only kept internally, never passed on to outsiders. Examples include the Great Wind Sword technique of the Huangfu family and the Heavenly 5 Divine Swords of the Yi family. However, while Earth-rank martial arts are powerful, they are also extremely difficult to master, and only those with exceptional talent have a chance of succeeding. Although the Python Dragon Fist is not to be passed on to outsiders, the Golden Dragon Clan chief had to make an exception for the sake of Chu Tianhen's grand plan for the Desolate Clan. Liu Feng put down the boxing manual and opened another book, Blood Demon Reincarnation Technique, to get a general understanding of it. Blood Demon Reincarnation Technique, a low-level Earth-rank secret technique. During combat, the practitioner burns half of their blood and qi, which can unleash twice the normal combat power for a short period of time. The power depends on the strength of the practitioner's own blood and qi. Good stuff. Liu Feng's eyes lit up. This Blood Demon Rebirth technique is absolutely a life-saving divine skill. Although the price is extremely high, requiring the consumption of half of one's vital energy, in a life-or-death situation, burning one's vital energy is better than being killed by the enemy, right? Therefore, this martial art is far more valuable than the Python Dragon technique and can be called a secret technique, never to be passed on to outsiders. To be willing to give him even such a secret technique is definitely a generous gesture. It seems that the Golden Dragon Clan chief has put in a lot of effort and thought for this operation. It seems necessary to first master the Blood Demon Reincarnation Technique. Having made his plan, Liu Feng began to circulate his magic power throughout his body, initiating the process of circulating magic power throughout his body. The first step in cultivating the Blood Demon Reincarnation Technique is to infuse true qi into the blood, which is to say, to infuse demonic power into the blood. Essence and blood are the most fundamental elements of the human body. Without them, a person cannot survive, or ceases to be human, becoming a walking corpse. Infusing demonic power into the blood is a difficult and slow process, because fusing two fundamentally different elements together is virtually impossible. Only such heaven-defying secret techniques record methods that defy common sense. This was initially a process of mutual repulsion, and it took Liu Feng 4 or 5 days and countless trials to finally succeed in the first step. What followed was an even longer process of fusion. He didn't know how much time had passed, until his body was covered with a layer of cobwebs and dust, before Liu Feng slowly opened his eyes and exhaled a breath of stale air. Finally, I have achieved minor success in my cultivation. Feeling the slight changes in his internal energy and blood, Liu Feng smiled with satisfaction. After so much time, he had finally completed the initial stage of the process of infusing magic into his blood. Once you reach the level of a swordsman, you basically no longer need to obtain energy from food, because you can absorb spiritual energy from the surrounding world, which is enough to replenish your daily needs. It's time to go out and take a look. After so many days of intensive indoor training, it's time to go out and get some fresh air. After straightening his robes, Liu Feng walked out of the wooden house. By this time, the village outside was already bathed in the glow of sunset, nearing nightfall. However, inside the village, whether day or night, it was always a scene of bustling activity, with firelight and lively chatter. A large group of young men and women from the wilderness tribe gathered around a bonfire to roast meat, while some danced and sang in a language that Liu Feng couldn't understand, creating a very lively atmosphere. Liu Feng found a secluded spot, sat cross-legged, and admired the exotic customs before him. This scene was somewhat similar to the minority groups he had encountered in his previous life. However, the wilderness clan before him were taller and more robust. The women of the wilderness clan, living in the dense forests of the great wilderness with little sunlight, generally have fair skin and are quite tall, making them more attractive and pleasing to the eye than the women of the two great empires. However, just as Liu Feng's gaze casually swept around, he faintly heard the sobbing of several girls beside him. Liu Feng frowned and looked in the direction of the sound. He saw a girl of about 12 or 13 years old with her head down, sobbing, tears streaming down her face, not far to his right. "Little girl, what's wrong?" While most people were enjoying the festive atmosphere of the bonfire dinner, the little girl was hiding here crying, which made Liu Feng quite curious. The little girl was incredibly cute. Although her fair face was covered in dirt, it couldn't hide her lively spirit. Hearing Liu Feng's voice, the little girl slowly raised her head, tears still streaking her face, her voice trembling. "Big brother, my grandpa, he's dying." Upon hearing this, Liu Feng's heart stirred, but he immediately sighed. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are inevitable for everyone. Even a sword sect expert only has a lifespan of 200 years and ultimately cannot escape the shackles of death. Perhaps only by reaching the realm of the Sword Emperor can one achieve immortality for 1,000 years and live as long as heaven and earth. Little sister, everyone has to die eventually, just like us when we get old and leave this world. Don't worry, your grandfather will be watching over you from heaven after he dies. At this moment, Liu Feng was also moved by compassion and comforted her. "No, that's not it," the little girl shook her head. "My grandpa has always been in good health, but he suddenly got a strange illness not long ago. No medicine can cure it, and it's getting worse and worse. I'm afraid he's going to die soon." At the end, the little girl choked up and couldn't speak anymore. "Oh, a strange illness." A look of surprise flashed in Liu Feng's eyes. Generally speaking, martial artists rarely fall ill because their physiques are strong, and they rarely suffer from minor ailments. Of course, this is not absolute. Those below the swordmaster level do not yet possess the ability to defy fate and still have a chance of contracting some serious illnesses. Only by cultivating to the swordmaster level can one truly achieve immunity to all poisons and diseases. Liu Feng gently patted the little girl's shoulder and said softly, "Little sister, how about you take me to see your grandfather? I might have a way to save him. If it were simply an illness, he might actually be able to solve it." After all, although he wasn't a medical student in his previous life, he was very knowledgeable about the symptoms and pathology of some serious illnesses and had read many medical classics. You're telling the truth?" The little girl looked at Liu Feng in shock, her face full of disbelief. "Of course it's true," Liu Feng smiled faintly and patted the girl's head. "Take me to see him quickly, or I might not be able to save him." The little girl got anxious and quickly stood up, grabbing Liu Feng's hand. Then let's go quickly." And so, Liu Feng followed the little girl westward toward the village. After a few minutes, a slightly dilapidated stilted house came into view. Watching the little girl enter, Liu Feng followed without hesitation. However, the familiar figures standing inside made him pause in surprise. Elder Tianfeng, the Grand Chancellor, elder brother. The two figures looked at him with surprise. "Yinglong, what brings you here?" Before Liu Feng could speak, the little girl next to him said it for him. "This big brother said he can cure Grandpa's illness, so he asked me to bring him here." After saying that, she tugged at Liu Feng's sleeve. "Big brother, please save my grandfather." "What?" Upon hearing this, not only were Elder Tianfeng and Ho Xiang shocked, but even the old man who had been taking Liu Feng's pulse by the bedside changed his expression and looked at Liu Feng with some shock. Seeing this, Liu Feng could only shrug helplessly. I can't guarantee anything either. I can only be sure after I've seen the patient. Upon hearing this, the astonishment on their faces deepened. Could it be that this kid really knows how to treat illnesses? Chapter 85 Master? Kid, are you sure you're not joking? The Prime Minister frowned deeply. He didn't believe Liu Feng possessed any medical skills. After all, martial arts and medicine were completely different things, and the complexity of medicine was no less than that of martial arts. A 17-year-old boy who had advanced to the level of a swordsman was already a genius. Could it be that he had equal, or even greater, skill in medicine? That was absolutely impossible. He and Elder Tianfeng had already tried, and this strange disease could not be cured with true energy at all. Even the famous medical master in the tribe, Master Sun Zonghua, could not cure it, which was enough to show how difficult the disease was to treat. How will we know if we don't try? Maybe if we're too late, the condition will worsen, and then there'll be nothing I can do, Liu Feng said helplessly. Upon hearing this, Elder Tianfeng's eyes flashed with surprise. After hesitating for a moment, he made up his mind and said, "All right, then I'll let you try." Elder Sun Zonghua, who was by the bedside, became anxious and his face turned very ugly. If he let this young boy try, wouldn't that mean he was incompetent and couldn't cure the disease? Kid, this is no ordinary illness. I'm afraid you don't know how to treat it at all, and you might end up harming Brother Hu instead. Sun Zonghua said coldly. Liu Feng smiled faintly. You don't need to worry about that, Master. Please make way. I don't like having other people around when I'm seeing a doctor. You. Sun Zonghua was immediately shocked and furious, and was about to explode. Brother Sun, Elder Tianfeng hurriedly interjected, for my sake, please let this kid have his way for now. We can discuss everything after he's finished his treatment, okay? Upon hearing this, Sun Zonghua took a deep breath, gave Liu Feng a cold look, and then slowly walked away from the bedside. Elder Tianfeng shook his head. Yinglong, you must examine him carefully. Don't treat him haphazardly, lest you harm Brother Hu. Understood, Elder. I know what I'm doing. The fact that Elder Tianfeng is here is enough to show that the person in bed probably holds a high position, and may even be an important figure in the Fengfeng department. After thinking it over, Liu Feng sat down by the bed and began to examine the patient. Sun Zonghua, standing behind him, had a gloomy expression, while inwardly he was sneering. He wanted to see how this arrogant brat would cure this strange disease. If he couldn't cure it, he would make sure Liu Feng suffered a terrible fate. At this moment, Liu Feng had no time to care about what others were thinking. He had already focused all his energy on the patient. He first took the pulse, and then carefully examined the patient's eyes, mouth, nose, ears, and other important acupoints. However, Liu Feng's actions only made Sun Zonghua's eyes grow colder. In his opinion, Liu Feng was just a hothead who was only pretending. After observing for a while, Liu Feng fell into deep thought. Judging from the various symptoms, there were many bruises under the neck of the old man surnamed Hu, and his body temperature was also very high. In particular, some parts of his body had begun to ulcerate and fester, indicating that his condition was very serious. How is it? Elder Tianfeng asked hurriedly. Liu Feng frowned and slowly said, If I'm not mistaken, this patient is suffering from a special disease called the Black Death. The Black Death. Everyone was stunned, clearly having never heard of such a disease before, and didn't react for a moment. Ha ha ha. Upon hearing Liu Feng's words, Sun Zonghua suddenly burst into laughter, his face full of mockery. Kid, you can't possibly not know what kind of illness it is and are just making it up to fool us, can you? Stop talking nonsense. I've been practicing medicine for decades and have never heard of a disease like the Black Death. As soon as he finished speaking, Elder Tianfeng and Ho Xiang looked at Liu Feng with suspicion, clearly also having some doubts. Liu Feng didn't answer, but instead beckoned to the little girl, gesturing for her to come over. Once the girl arrived, Liu Feng rolled up her sleeve and was horrified to discover that her fair skin was covered in multiple festering sores, a truly gruesome sight. This is... Elder Tianfeng and the others' expressions changed. Liu Feng then spoke slowly and deliberately, This Black Death is very contagious. This little girl has been in contact with her grandfather for a long time and has already contracted this terrible disease. I heard that Master Sun has been in contact with patients for a long time, and he may also have been infected." "What?" Sun Zongbo was shocked and hurriedly rolled up his sleeves to check himself over his body. As for Elder Tianfeng and Ho Xiang, they are both experts of the sword sect, and the plague cannot get close to them, so it is naturally impossible for them to be infected with the Black Death. Oops! After checking himself over, Sun Zongbo was horrified to discover that patches of blood had appeared on his left arm, and they were already showing signs of suppuration. Seeing this, Liu Feng couldn't help but sneer. "Damn it, it seems Master Sun has also been infected. This disease is not easy to cure. Experts below the sword sect level can easily lose their lives if they're not careful." Hearing this, Sun Zongbo became even more frightened, cursing inwardly, "This damned disease is contagious. What should I do?" He had absolutely no way to cure this disease, otherwise he wouldn't have spent so much time and still hadn't cured the old man surnamed Hu. That's right. This kid can figure out the origin of this disease, so he must have a way to cure it. Sun Zongbo's eyes lit up. Thinking of this, he disregarded all pride and walked straight up to Liu Feng, grabbing the young man's sleeve and pleading with a mournful face, "Master Ing Long, please save this old man." Liu Feng couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. This old man's face changed far too quickly. Wasn't he so arrogant just now? Sure enough, in the face of the fear of death, even the most arrogant person would become humble and subservient, even putting the title of Master on his head. This might actually be a bit difficult. Liu Feng pretended to be troubled. "Master Inglong, you must save my life no matter what. Just tell me what kind of spiritual medicine you need. I can't guarantee anything else, but I dare say that no one in the entire Dragon Hammer tribe has a more complete selection of spiritual medicines than me." At this critical moment, Sun Zongbo had already put aside his pride and was completely willing to do anything to save his life. "Oh!" Upon hearing the word spiritual medicine, Liu Feng's eyes lit up immediately. He needed some spiritual medicine to enhance his blood and qi, thereby increasing the power of the blood demon rebirth technique. "In that case, I'll give it a try," Liu Feng coughed lightly, then seemed to think for a moment before continuing. "Go find these kinds of spiritual herbs: heavenly demon body tempering flower, strengthening grass, Vajra dragon saliva. Well, the more varieties you find, the greater your chances of success." Apart from the last few herbs which were used to treat the Black Death, most of the others were precious elixirs for body refinement, with obvious effects in replenishing qi and blood. "I have the heavenly demon body tempering flower. As for the Vajra dragon saliva, I remember someone gave me one last time. I'll get them now." Sun Zongbo was overjoyed. Without saying another word, he rushed out of the room and headed straight for his house, leaving Elder Tianfeng and Ho Xiang in the house, still dumbfounded. Is this still the same arrogant and self-important Master Sun we know? The two exchanged a glance, then looked at Liu Feng with some shock. Amazing! At such a young age, not only was he incredibly talented in swordsmanship, but he was also so skilled in medicine. Even the few medical masters in their tribe had completely lost their integrity and bowed down at his feet. Liu Feng felt a little uneasy under the gazes of the two men, so he could only chuckle dryly. "Don't look at me like that. The truth is, I rescued an old man who was gathering herbs in the mountains. To repay me, he taught me some medical skills and treatments for several diseases, including this Black Death." Well, that's how it is. Chapter 86. True Qi forms silk. Under the threat of death, Sun Zongbo's efficiency was indeed extraordinary. Liu Feng and the others only waited for less than half an hour before he rushed back and threw out a huge pile of spiritual herbs, piling them up like a small mountain in front of Liu Feng. This. Elder Tianfeng's lips twitched violently. He knew old man Sun's temperament well. He was notoriously stingy. Normally, he wouldn't part with a single one of these things, even if you beat him to death. He never expected him to throw out so many today, many of which were rare and valuable items that he had tried to borrow before but couldn't. However, at the same time, he was also somewhat suspicious. Could this kind of illness really require so many medicinal herbs? And the vast majority of them were body-refining elixirs. Faced with so many spiritual herbs, Liu Feng took a deep breath, his eyes gleaming. These were all treasures. He had originally planned to personally search the Giant God Mountain range, but now it seemed unnecessary. The quantity of spiritual herbs here was enough to cultivate the essence in his body to an extremely high level. Liu Feng coughed a few times and cleared his throat. This is barely enough. I'm going to start treating the patients now. Master Sun, you can stand at the back first. I'll treat this seriously ill patient first, and then I'll remove the virus from you. No problem, Master Yinglong, please. Sun Zonghua nodded repeatedly and slowly retreated to Elder Tianfeng's side. At this moment, Liu Feng took out the medicinal herbs used to treat the Black Death, used his magic to shatter them, quickly squeezed out the juice, saving the trouble of boiling it, and directly poured it into the body of the old man surnamed Hu. Next came the process of the medicine spreading. With Liu Feng using his magic to guide it, this process was greatly shortened. Soon, the old man surnamed Hu regained some color in his face, and then the festering parts on his body began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. In fact, the treatment was almost complete at this point, but Liu Feng was not going to stop there. He continued to create a mystery and took the opportunity to collect the important spiritual herbs before finally stopping. Mission accomplished. Liu Feng focused his energy in his dantian and performed a breathing exercise, seemingly exhausted. In reality, this was all an act. If he appeared to have easily resolved the illness in no time, what would others think of him? That wouldn't be miraculous medical skills, but rather the work of a savior. He would likely have countless patients seeking his help, which was not the outcome he desired. After all, in this world, medical skills are still only at the stage of surgery and internal medicine, and are very crude. Although there are some miraculous aspects, they are still far behind the medicine of the 21st century. The elderly man surnamed Hu on the bed stirred and opened his eyes. Seeing the assembled dignitaries in the room, his expression changed, and he quickly bowed, "Elder Tianfeng, Warrior Hoxiang, Master Sun." For the past few days, he had been in a daze, hovering between life and death, but unexpectedly, just as he was about to head to the underworld, a hand pulled him back. "Grandpa!" Upon seeing the elderly man surnamed Hu wake up, the little girl burst into tears of joy and rushed into his arms. The grandfather and granddaughter embraced each other tightly. Liu Feng smiled faintly. "The virus in your little sister's body hasn't been removed yet. Let me help you get rid of it first, and then you can reunite with your grandfather." After saying that, he shattered the medicinal herbs, turning them into two streams of green. One stream entered the little girl's body, and the other entered Sun Zonghua's body. With the acceleration of a trace of magic power, the wounds on the two people's bodies healed rapidly. The two individuals had milder infections, so the treatment was much easier. The virus was completely eliminated in less than a minute. "It's amazing!" Sun Zonghua exclaimed as the bloodstains on his body gradually disappeared. Having completed this process, only about half of the mountain of spiritual herbs had been consumed, leaving some second-grade body-tempering herbs. Of course, Liu Feng didn't intend to let them go either. His void ring flashed, taking all the spiritual herbs into it. "Master Yinglong, this." Seeing this scene, Sun Zonghua couldn't help but feel a pang of heartache. Those were things he had saved up over many years, and they had all been taken away by Liu Feng in one go. His heart was bleeding. Liu Feng merely glanced at him before his face suddenly showed regret. As if no one else was around, he said, "Alas, my superb medical skills are entirely from a reclusive master. Before he passed away, he instructed me to carry on his medical skills. Unfortunately, I am not interested in medicine. I was just thinking of finding someone to pass it on to. If only someone skilled in medicine would appear at this time." These words were naturally meant for Sun Zonghua. "What? Is that so? Master Yinglong, do you think I'm up to the task?" The pain on Sun Zonghua's face immediately disappeared, replaced by surprise. This guy really fell for it. Liu Feng chuckled inwardly, but remained outwardly composed, even frowning slightly. You're barely passable." Just as Sun Zonghua was beaming with joy, Liu Feng suddenly changed the subject. "But I've heard that there are other medical masters in the Dragon Hammer tribe. Do you think I should go and find them too? It would be better to have more options." Upon hearing this, Sun Zonghua inwardly cried out in alarm. Although he was arrogant, there were indeed a few old men in the Dragon Hammer tribe whose medical skills were no less than his. If they learned his miraculous medical techniques, Would he ever have a chance to rise in the future? No, this absolutely could not be allowed. Gritting his teeth, he took out a scroll of withered yellow pages from his storage pouch and handed it to Liu Feng. Master Yinglong, if you can pass on your medical skills to me, I will give you all those spiritual herbs as a gift. And this manual on the true Qi transformation technique will also serve as an exchange. True Qi forming threads. Liu Feng's expression changed. He had heard of this true Qi forming threads before. It was not a martial art, but a method of using true Qi to compress it into threads. In medicine, it could clear blood stasis, toxins, and so on to the maximum extent. It could also be used for pulse diagnosis with threads, and the effect was outstanding. Similarly, in martial arts, the ability to compress true Qi into threads can also increase the lethality of moves. When true Qi is compressed into threads, both its penetrating power and destructive power will increase significantly. Good stuff, I'll take it. Liu Feng smiled and said, seeing how sincere you are, Master Sun, fine, I will teach you my medical skills. How about this? Come to my place in 7 days, and I will write down everything I want to teach you on paper and then give it to you. How about that? No problem. Sun Zonghua's eyes lit up, a surge of joy welling up inside him. What were those spiritual herbs? What was the matter of true Qi forming threads? Once he learned Liu Feng's miraculous medical skills, he would dominate the entire Dragon Hammer tribe. No, he would dominate the entire Wilderness clan without a doubt. At that time, who would be his match in medical skills? At this moment, he seemed to have a vague feeling that the title of the #1 physician of the Wilderness clan was getting closer and closer to him. Less than a day later, the news that Liu Feng had cured the strange disease and brought the patient back to life spread throughout the Feng tribe and continued to spread outwards. Many people from the other 3 tribes also heard the news and couldn't help but marvel at it. During this period, many people came to visit Liu Feng, their purpose being, of course, to learn his extraordinary medical skills. However, without exception, all of them were turned away by Liu Feng. Finally, he was so annoyed by this that he simply had the Prime Minister step in and say that anyone who dared to come again would have their legs broken. As a result, after he made this threat, no one dared to bother him anymore. For the remaining 2 weeks, besides tempering his body, Liu Feng also practiced the Python Dragon Fist. Although this was the first set of fist techniques he had ever learned, as he had never practiced any fist techniques before, all martial arts share commonalities. Therefore, it wasn't too difficult to comprehend them. Time passed day by day, and in the blink of an eye, the day of the Muta conference was fast approaching. Chapter 87. The Conference Opens. Wah! 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 At dawn, a series of urgent and stirring horn sounds rang out from the Dragon Hammer tribe's arena. Soon, the horns of the 4 major tribes sounded one after another, quickly spreading to all the villages. At this moment, Liu Feng, who was in the wooden house, was also startled by the sound of the horn. He slowly opened his eyes, leaving behind a gust of wind as he flashed out. Along the way, the men, women, and children of the Feng tribe were all excited as they headed towards the arena located in the center of the 4 major tribes. As for the girls of the Huang tribe, they were all dressed in their finest attire, looking radiant and beautiful. All they could think about was attracting the attention of the young talents at the tournament, and it would be even better if one of them took a liking to them. The leaders of these crowds were all elderly men with white hair. "Old Hai, you're so old, why are you still going to this conference?" "Of course we'll go. The Muta conference is only held once a year. Although we're getting old, the younger generation is still young. So this time, we've brought some of the village's best prospects to watch the competition, hoping to inspire them. Hee, I also brought 2 young men from the village, to show them what a genius is, so they won't cause trouble everywhere." Haha, it seems we have the same goal. The entire Dragon Hammer tribe stretches for hundreds of miles. The elders of these villages rarely interact, but they all know each other, so they can exchange a few words when they meet. Whoosh! Liu Feng walked on air, like a gust of wind, passing by the crowd. Such speed! This kid is a master. The 2 elders only saw a white shadow flash by, and before they could even see what the person looked like, he had already disappeared. Dragon Hammer Arena. When Liu Feng arrived, tens of thousands of people had already gathered there, completely surrounding the arena. Many more people were excluded from the arena, making it extremely crowded. In the center of the arena stands a circular platform, about 10 meters high and about 200 meters in circumference, supported by 4 giant stone pillars, which look spectacular from a distance. Yinglong, come here. The high platform was surrounded by a ring of VIP seats, where prominent figures from the tribe were seated. Among them was Ho Xiang, who beckoned to Liu Feng. With a swift movement, Liu Feng walked over. Beside Ho Xiang stood Elder Tianfeng and about a dozen young talents from the Feng department. Among these young experts were Zhang Yan and 2 others who had clashed with Liu Feng. The 3 men didn't say much when they saw Liu Feng arrive, but a cold glint flashed in their eyes. They had already given instructions to the young expert from the Wind Defense Department. Once on the stage, they should leave Liu Feng to his own devices. Anyone who dared to help him would be going against them and would suffer a terrible fate. Liu Feng paid no attention to these people. He had never intended to form any battle formation with them. In fact, this was better, as he didn't have to worry about someone suddenly stabbing him in the back, making him much safer. Seeing this, Elder Tianfeng was also quite troubled, but there was nothing he could do. With a great battle imminent, and the 2 sides already having grudges, it would be a pipe dream to expect them to unite and cooperate at this time. As a series of loud horn calls rang out, a dignified old man in brocade robes appeared on the high platform. He was none other than Jinlong, the chieftain of the Dragon Hammer tribe. Clearing his throat, Chief Jinlong announced, "Fellow clansmen, welcome to our clan's annual Namuta tournament. This year's participants are 55 talented young people from the 4 tribes. The rules of the competition are the same as in previous years, a free-for-all format. Children of the tribe, the platform beneath my feet is your battlefield. All of you will engage in the fiercest battle here. No killing is allowed. Anyone who falls off the platform will be disqualified. The last one standing will become the new generation of Dragon Hammer warriors." The Golden Dragon Clan chief's words, accompanied by a powerful surge of true essence, quickly reached everyone's ears. Upon hearing this, hundreds of thousands of Dragon Hammer clan members below the platform roared like a mountain collapsing and a tsunami crashing down, causing even the earth to tremble slightly. "I hereby declare that this conference is now in session." As soon as he finished speaking, the arena erupted in cheers once again, the roar reaching the heavens. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. One by one, figures emerged from the VIP seats, leaped onto the high platform, and formed 4 battle circles, standing in 4 different directions. The number of people in the Dragon Clan was relatively smaller, exactly 10. However, each of these 10 people possessed a powerful aura, especially the red-haired youth in the center who was wearing blood-red battle armor. He exuded a domineering aura and looked down on everyone. The 10 people stood together, exuding a subtle yet powerful aura that subtly overwhelmed the other 3 tribes. In the most prominent position in the VIP section, the Golden Dragon Clan chief and the elders of the 4 major tribes sat together, looking at the 10 powerful experts of the Dragon Clan on the stage, and their faces couldn't help but show their approval. "Elder Liuzhan, the experts of your Cholong tribe are quite formidable. It seems that this time, the first place will probably be taken by Ji Lai from your tribe again." Elder Zhuin of the Zhuin tribe, with a youthful face and white hair, said with some envy, "Hee, Brother Zhuin is joking. Your 9th Army's men are all full of energy and have extraordinary strength. It's still hard to say who will win this final battle." Elder Liuzhan smiled, but although he said that, he already regarded Ji Lai as the winner of this competition in his heart, and he did not think highly of the others. At this moment, the Golden Dragon Clan chief glanced around at the Wind Defense Division's ranks, frowned, and couldn't help but ask Elder Tianfeng beside him, "Why is there no Yinglong in your Wind Defense Division's ranks?" Upon hearing this, Elder Tianfeng was also taken aback. He quickly realized that Liu Feng was indeed nowhere to be seen on the entire platform, which made him smile wryly. This kid. At this moment, the 4 battle zones were ready and waiting for the bugle call to sound so that the melee could begin. However, in that instant, with a whoosh, a white figure swept onto the platform. Outside of the 4 camps, it did not join any of them, but occupied a place by itself, standing with its hands behind its back. The figure was none other than Liu Feng. Everyone, including the Golden Dragon Clan chief and the 4 elders, was shocked. What was this kid up to? Did he intend to fight alone against an entire squad of more than 10 people? Interesting. Ji Lai's lips curled up, a glint flashing in his eyes, as if he were deep in thought. That idiot! On the side of the Wind Defense Department, Zhang Yan and the others all had grim expressions. They had originally planned to humiliate Liu Feng when he joined their team, but they didn't expect him to be so individualistic, not even joining the gang and choosing to do it all by himself. Wah! 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 As the melodious horn sounded, more than 50 young masters attacked almost the instant the sound ended. Their powerful true energy converged into a mighty river, instantly blasting several people away. Boom, boom, boom. The fight was extremely fierce. In just a dozen breaths, 3 experts had already been blasted off the platform. Bang! In the crowd, Ji Lai and a master from the Rainmaster Department exchanged a punch. The force of their punches collided, creating a huge shockwave that swept in all directions. Without any suspense, the youth from the Rainmaster Department was blasted away, and the shockwave caused several people nearby to stagger back more than 10 steps. However, to the surprise of many, Liu Feng stood motionless in the center of the white circle, seemingly unaffected by the shockwave. Ji Lai noticed this unusual behavior, causing him to frown. It seemed this person was not so simple. He immediately turned his head and gave a wink to the imposing, towering young man beside him. Philian, go and test that white-clad youth's water. Although he didn't take Liu Feng seriously, the other party had been stealing the spotlight since the beginning, even subtly overshadowing him, the defending champion, which made him very unhappy. Upon receiving Ji Lai's order, the towering young man named Philian sent his opponent flying with a single punch, then quickly shifted his target and rushed towards Liu Feng's location. Chapter 88 Spiritual Smoke. A fierce burst of crimson true energy erupted, and Philian took 3 steps in 2, sweeping towards Liu Feng with overwhelming force. His right palm was reversed, and a ball of red flame suddenly ignited in his palm. Liu Feng, who was wandering through the crowd, quickly spotted the menacing Philian. After a moment's thought, he made up his mind. It seemed that the other party wanted to test him. He had to defeat him with a thunderous strike, otherwise it would not be enough to intimidate the others. Take this punch. A fierce glint flashed in Philian's eyes. He clenched his right fist tightly, and red flames merged into his fist before he unleashed a fierce punch. Great Star Flame Fist. Compared to Liu Feng's Python Dragon Fist, this Great Star Flame Fist takes a domineering approach and is much hotter. When a punch is thrown out, it is like a blazing sun pressing down, burning everything in its path. Young experts who are nearby quickly retreat and jump away to avoid getting burned and suffering collateral damage. Liu Feng stood motionless until Philian's fist was within 3 feet of him before he met it with a punch. His fist emitted a blue light, trailing a dazzling blue halo. In an instant, dragons and snakes roared, and a phantom image of a giant python as thick as a bowl appeared on his fist, which was unleashed with an invincible attitude. Python Dragon Fist, devouring heaven and earth. Fist clashed solidly with fist, the crimson and cyan lights intertwining and exploding continuously, creating bursts of explosive energy like fireworks. Puff! To everyone's shock, it was Philian who was the first to succumb. His clothes on his right arm suddenly ripped open, revealing his muscular arm. Blood seeped from his arm, and a cracking sound of bones breaking could be heard. He couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, and Philian's towering body was blasted away. How is this possible? Witnessing this scene, Ji Lai's pupils constricted, his face filled with disbelief. Among the 4 major tribes, the Cholong tribe was renowned for its physical strength. While Philian's physical strength was considerably inferior to his, it was still among the top in the Cholong tribe. Yet, even so, Philian had been sent flying by this seemingly fragile white-robed youth. It was truly unimaginable. Unfortunately, he didn't know that Liu Feng had consumed a large amount of rare and precious herbs to strengthen his body these past few days, making his physical strength countless times greater than before. Liu Feng was not about to let such a golden opportunity slip by. With a swift movement, he vanished without a trace. When he reappeared, he was already close to Fei Lian's body and punched him in the chest. Bang! Before Fei Lian could react, he was blasted off the platform by the immense force. Quiet! Utter silence! The platform was completely silent. Everyone stared blankly at Liu Feng. Fei Lian, one of the main forces of the Cholong tribe, was taken down by Liu Feng in just a couple of moves. Liu Feng remained calm, then glanced coldly at Ji Lai not far away. Trying to scheme against me? I'm afraid you're not strong enough. Heh, it seems Fei Lian's momentary carelessness has made you soar to the sky. I'll show you now that with your level, you're not qualified to be arrogant in front of me. Ji Lai's face suddenly turned cold, and a scorching aura burst forth from his body, burning fiercely and dyeing his eyebrows and eyes fiery red, making him extremely domineering. The opponent came on strong, but Liu Feng had no intention of engaging in a decisive battle so soon. Even if he eliminated Ji Lai now, his combat strength would likely be greatly reduced, making him unable to withstand attacks from all sides. Therefore, facing the intimidating Ji Lai, he actually hoped the situation would become more chaotic, allowing him to fish in troubled waters and benefit himself. With this in mind, he shouted to the others without hesitation, "Aren't you all going to make a move? Once I'm defeated by Ji Lai, you'll be the next ones eliminated. How about we join forces now and eliminate the Qiulong tribe first? After eliminating Ji Lai, I alone am no match for all of you." As soon as he finished speaking, many people were tempted. What Liu Feng said made sense. Although the Qiulong tribe had lost Fei Lian, they were still their biggest threat. And although Liu Feng was also good, he was only one person. In comparison, he was obviously not as threatening as Ji Lai's side. Damn it! Ji Lai was shocked and furious that Liu Feng would use such a move. Sensing that the experts from the other three tribes around him were also getting restless, he became wary and temporarily abandoned the idea of attacking Liu Feng. However, although these people wanted to attack Ji Lai, none of them had the courage to be the first to act, fearing that if they did, they would suffer a fierce counterattack from the Qiulong tribe and incur heavy losses. Therefore, the current situation suddenly became very delicate. What should have been an extremely fierce battle was now one where no one dared to make a move, and everyone was on guard against each other. The audience of the Wilderness clan below the stage also watched this scene with some surprise. Although they couldn't hear the speech on the platform, they could tell just by looking that the reason why these people dared not make a move seemed to be because of that white-robed youth. That lone Yinglong. You little brat who's stirring up trouble, I'll cripple you first. After confirming that no one else dared to make a move, Ji Lai took a step forward, his true energy blazing like a fire god descending to earth, and charged towards Liu Feng. Seeing this, Liu Feng had a sudden inspiration. He lightly touched the ground with his feet and flew backward, shouting as he retreated, "Zhan Yan, why don't you proceed with the plan and launch a sneak attack on the rear of the Qiulong tribe?" Plan? What plan? Zhan Yan was a little confused. However, upon hearing this, Ji Lai's expression changed, and he immediately shouted, "Hong Ling, Shuiyu, stop the people from the Wind Defense Division." Before Zhan Yan could recall what Liu Feng's plan was, he saw several attacks hurtling towards him, knocking several experts from the Wind Defense Division flying and eliciting screams of agony. Damn it, charge! Take down those bastards from the Dragon Clan! Having lost to Ji Lai for several consecutive years, Zhan Yan had long harbored resentment towards him. At this moment, he didn't care whether Liu Feng had tricked him or not, and in a moment of impulsiveness, he charged forward while shouting and cursing. "Kid, let's see who can help you now." Ji Lai sneered. He hated nothing more than anyone putting on airs in front of him. Those who dared to provoke him were now trampled under his feet. They either got beaten to death or knelt before him. There were only two paths. A hint of ferocity appeared on his face. Ji Lai stomped his foot on the platform, leaving a deep footprint. His fierce fist energy drew a bright streak of fire in the air as he angrily smashed towards Liu Feng. Starfire Burst. Both are great star flame fist techniques, but in Ji Lai's hands they are several times stronger than Fei Lian's. The scorching heat is probably enough to melt steel instantly and burn a charred hole in a human body. Liu Feng remained fearless, a dragon's roar erupting from his body as a torrent of demonic power surged forth, transforming into a giant python that clung to his arm as he charged forward. The python spits its heart. Bang! It was another head-on clash of fists. Both of them took a few steps back, but this time, Ji Lai only took 3 steps back, while Liu Feng was sent flying backward, spitting out a mouthful of blood, seemingly suffering from serious internal injuries. "Haha, kid, is that all you've got? Get out of here." Ji Lai laughed loudly, his eyes full of mockery. "Oh no, this kid is going to lose." The experts from the other three tribes around them all paled. On the entire platform, only Liu Feng was capable of fighting Ji Lai, yet he had been defeated so quickly. This deepened their apprehension towards Ji Lai. Not daring to be negligent, the leaders of the three tribes, their expressions grave, gave a signal to those beside them. In an instant, 4 or 5 people broke away from the battle formation and gradually surrounded Ji Lai. "You want to die." Ji Lai didn't take these people seriously at all. None of these dozens of people could match him, and it would be useless for them to come any more. Superior. As streaks of energy swept past, 4 or 5 experts attacked almost simultaneously, unleashing a deluge of attacks upon Ji Lai. Liu Feng, who was in the distance, took this opportunity to recover his magic power. The injury he suffered from the punch earlier was actually faked. He had only suffered minor injuries. Liu Feng's approach was primarily based on tactical considerations. He needed to save the most troublesome opponent for last to conserve his strength, since none of the 50-odd people present were his teammates. However, the fierce battle on the scene did not develop as he had hoped. Bang 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 bang. 5 punches were thrown in quick succession, sending the 5 experts flying backward and crashing off the platform. Ji Lai's momentum did not weaken in the slightest. On the contrary, it became even more ferocious. Wisps of smoke rose from above his head, soaring into the sky. This is the legendary essence smoke. Liu Feng exclaimed in horror. Legend has it that only when a cultivator's vital energy reaches a certain level will this kind of vital energy smoke form. Generally, the vital energy of experts is stored within their bodies and cannot be materialized. However, Ji Lai's vital energy has broken through its constraints and can be seen with the naked eye. One can imagine how strong his blood energy is. Chapter 89 The Final Battle. Let's attack together. Now the experts from the 9-ine division and the Rainmaster division finally understood that this Ji Lai was no longer the Ji Lai of the previous tournament. His strength far surpassed theirs, and only by attacking as a group could they have a glimmer of hope. In an instant, the remaining dozen or so experts unleashed their signature techniques, throwing them at Ji Lai. Even with Ji Lai's strength, he couldn't withstand so many attacks simultaneously. He dodged most of them with a flash, retreating into the Dragon Tribe's battle formation, and roared, "Men of the Dragon Clan, listen up! Form the Fire Dragon battle formation!" As soon as the words fell, the youths of the Dragon Clan abandoned their opponents. With a few flashes, they took turns forming a battle formation resembling a fire dragon, and Ji Lai was positioned at the head of the dragon. Attack! With a furious roar, a red glow emanated from all the experts of the Qilong tribe, rapidly transmitting from their tails and bodies to their heads and then into Ji Lai. He threw a punch, and the dragon's mouth slowly opened, spewing out a tongue of fire 7 or 8 zhong long, spreading out in a fan shape, instantly sending 4 or 5 people flying. So terrifying! Liu Feng originally thought that Ji Lai was about to die, but he didn't expect that the other party would create such a battle formation. It was simply a weapon for killing in groups. Even the people of the 3 major tribes combined were no match for it. Of course, Liu Feng also saw the key to this formation, Ji Lai. If this person's physical body wasn't strong enough, he absolutely couldn't withstand such an infusion of energy. The burden would be too great. Anyone else would definitely explode and die. Let's form a battle formation too. Seeing that the situation was not good, the people of the 3 tribes quickly separated and regrouped, forming 3 different formations resembling wild beasts. Boom! The fire dragon danced, and another wave of fire spewed out. However, this time, with the cover of the battle formation, the defense was much better. Although it was barely manageable, it was blocked after all, and no one was blown away again. On the field, Liu Feng was the most relaxed person. With both sides locked in a fierce battle, no one paid him any attention. Besides, everyone assumed that Liu Feng, having taken a punch from Ji Lai, was essentially crippled and posed no threat. As time went on, the battle on the field became increasingly fierce and escalated. Even those who formed battle formations began to suffer casualties. The fire dragon and the 3-headed beast clashed repeatedly, and with each collision, someone fell off the platform and was disqualified. This state of affairs continued until only a handful of people remained on both sides, at which point it came to an end. By then, several battle formations had been broken, and the competition had entered its final, close-quarters combat phase. Those who survived were the elites of the four major tribes. The Juin tribe, the Yushi tribe, and the Fangfeng tribe each had only 1 or 2 people left, while the Qiulong tribe had 3. Eliminate Ji Lai first. The experts from the 3 tribes roared and charged towards Ji Lai with the strides of dragons and tigers, intending to eliminate this greatest threat first before dealing with the other 2 from the Qiulong tribe. However, the Qiulong tribe would not let them have their way. Experts rushed out one after another, and the group quickly became entangled, unleashing a barrage of deadly moves. In an instant, the scene was extremely chaotic. Bang! One of the top-tier experts was knocked away, and then the remaining experts were eliminated one by one. In the blink of an eye, only Ji Lai and Zhang Yan remained on the field. "You are no match for me, step back," Ji Lai said arrogantly. At the previous conference, Ji Lai's final opponent was Zhang Yan. After 10 moves, Zhang Yan was defeated, and Ji Lai won, becoming the Dragon Hammer Warrior. Hateful! Sensing the disdain in the other person's words, Zhang Yan clenched his fists. He had thought that after a year of hard work, his strength had improved significantly, enough to threaten Ji Lai. Even if there was still a gap between them, he at least had a sliver of hope of winning. However, the strength Ji Lai displayed today far surpassed his own, shattering his confidence. However, he was not one to easily submit and would never admit defeat so readily. The fighting spirit in his eyes intensified infinitely. "If you want me to admit defeat, then show me your true skills." "Heh, you're too naive. Let me tell you, from the beginning until now, I've only been playing along with you. Since you're so eager to fight me, I'll grant your wish." After saying that, Ji Lai's aura intensified, and a scorching wave of heat emanated from him. The surrounding air seemed unable to withstand the heat and crackled with crackling sounds. Whoosh! As the air dispersed, a fiery red longsword suddenly appeared in Ji Lai's hand. "It's the Tao artifact, the fiery cloud blade." Someone in the audience immediately recognized the treasured blade. "I didn't expect Ji Lai to even use the fiery cloud blade. It seems he wants to finish this quickly and eliminate Zhang Yan as soon as possible." "That's right. The battle has dragged on for too long. With brother Ji Lai's strength this year, no one can be his match. The Wilderness Clan people greatly admire the strong, and the Dragon Hammer tribe is no exception. When they saw Ji Lai descending like a god of fire, his skills overwhelming all others, they all cast their respectful gazes and praised him, even though they belonged to different tribes. "I'll defeat you in 3 moves." Ji Lai slowly uttered 4 words, enunciating each one clearly. "Enough with the nonsense, take this punch." Zhang Yan shouted and unleashed a punch carrying the force of thunder. Splitter! Ji Lai neither dodged nor evaded, but instead slashed out with his long sword, the fiery red blade light rubbing against the energy as it struck Zhang Yan. Clang! Zhang Yan truly lived up to his reputation as the most outstanding expert in the Wind Defense Division. His strength far surpassed that of the others, and his head-on combat skills were even better. He shattered the incoming blade of light with a single punch. The second move. A crimson blade of light shot into the sky, changing the color of the air it emanated. Zhang Yan did not retreat at all. He formed fist seals with both hands and simultaneously unleashed 2 jets of energy as thick as bowls, which collided with the blade's edge. Boom! The force of the attack caused Zhang Yan to stagger back several steps, with a trickle of blood seeping from the corner of his mouth. Third strike, defeat. The fiery cloud blade flashed through the void, and instantly, a dazzling fiery red blade light burst forth, slashing towards Zhang Yan with unparalleled sharpness. So fast! Zhang Yan only felt a flash of blood before his eyes, and the blade light instantly approached within inches of him. There was no way to dodge now, and besides, simply dodging wasn't his style. If he tried to take the hit head-on, he would inevitably cough up blood and be forced to retreat. Ji Lai's third strike wasn't so easy to block. He had already struggled to block the second strike. This strike was even more domineering than the last one. Boom! Zhang Yan roared, and the surrounding air exploded. A suit of armor condensed from true energy quickly appeared around him. Hiss, 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 hiss. The blade struck Zhang Yan as if it had struck steel forged through countless hammer blows, sending up a shower of dazzling sparks. Upon closer inspection, It was discovered that the blade had only cut halfway into the armor, failing to cut through completely. Unable to defeat his opponent with a single strike, Ji Lai retreated 3 steps and did not attack again. Brother Zhang Yan's defense is amazing. It's incredible that he still has a trump card at this time. I feel like I've seen this true Qi armor before. It's said to be a top-tier secret technique for humans, extremely difficult to cultivate. I never expected Zhang Yan to actually master it. It seems that the reason Zhang Yan didn't use it earlier was to deal with Ji Lai. This is going to be interesting. A top-tier human-level secret technique is equivalent to a low-tier earth-level martial art. Because secret techniques are more precious and more powerful, although there is a difference of 1 level between the two, their values are roughly the same. How about that? You can't break through my defense. Let's see how you defeat me. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Zhang Yan's face flashed with excitement. Do you really think you can stop my knife with this turtle shell? Then feel free to try. Zhang Yan was already nearly 9 feet tall, and with the addition of layers of armor, he looked like a giant, radiating immense pressure. Without saying a word, Ji Lai unleashed 3 consecutive slashes, creating a continuous sea of fiery red blade light. The fiery light resembled crescent moons, combining to form a blazing sun, dazzlingly bright. The spinning blade of light shredded the air and rolled towards Zhang Yan. Zhang Yan's eyes narrowed. Without retreating or dodging, he raised his huge fist to meet the attack head-on. Bang! The fist struck the blazing sun, creating a massive shockwave that spread outwards, leaving faint cracks visible on the sun's surface. Humph! Break it! Ji Lai's figure flashed, suddenly transforming into a blur, with multiple images appearing in the blazing sun. He poured in fiery red true energy and raised his fiery cloud blade. Zhang Yan's heavy armor of true energy shattered instantly, sending him flying backward off the platform and spitting out a mouthful of blood. As expected, Zhang Yan was eliminated and Ji Lai won. After cleaving Zhang Yan away with a single strike, Ji Lai let out a heavy sigh of relief. Clearly, the battle had taken its toll, but this was nothing compared to the Dragon Hammer Warrior title he had already earned. However, the victory horn that should have sounded did not. Below the stage, in the VIP section, Elder Lizhan looked at the Golden Dragon Clan Chief with some doubt. Clan Chief, Ji Lai has already won. Why hasn't he ordered someone to sound the victory horn? Before the Golden Dragon Clan Chief could answer, Elder Tianfeng spoke up, a half-smile playing on his lips. Who said Ji Lai has already won? Isn't there still someone on that stage? Upon hearing this, Elder Lieshan's pupils constricted sharply, and he quickly turned his gaze to the high platform. Sure enough, a figure in flowing white robes had appeared opposite Ji Lai. It was Liu Feng. Liu Feng remained motionless, unleashing an aura no weaker than Ji Lai's, which clashed with Ji Lai's momentum. The two were evenly matched, locked in a fierce confrontation. How is that possible? On the platform, Ji Lai's expression was also somewhat unpleasant. He had thought that Liu Feng, who had lost his threat, actually looked completely unharmed and stood in front of him with a smile. How could he not be shocked? However, he quickly calmed down and sneered, "What a cunning little man! You think you can reap the benefits just by showing up now? I can knock you down with one punch." "Is that so? Then let's see who will be the last one to fall." A smile curved Liu Feng's lips, and with a flick of his wrist, the golden demon-slaying sword appeared in his hand. Upon seeing this, most of the people in the audience were stunned. What? This Yinglong actually uses a sword? This is impossible. Could it be that he's been hiding his strength all along? This is terrifying. Who will win this match?